Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin. Happy, Thursday today? Hope you're having a good one. Now, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, I'm just looking to help you become a better trader. If you'd like to become a significantly better trader, CryptoCache.tech is the website, link in the description below. Got a trading academy, community, and signal group. Be looking forward to working with you there if you want to check that out in your own time. But when it comes to Bitcoin, here is the thing. We are doing better today, obviously, than we did a couple of days ago. That kind of goes without saying. But we want to kind of make sure that we are careful leading into this next couple of days, just based on the fact that we have a pretty strong resistance, is what it looks like here, right around 40,500, with the one-day candlestick close not going higher than that for 2 days in a row. And then, of course, that being the tentative resistance. And what I mean by that is that if we don't break through that, we wouldn't be making higher highs. We'd still be maintaining lower highs, and that would be disadvantageous. That would allow this continuation of the downside to continue and happen more, I wouldn't say aggressively, but we should expect the price to continue to come lower if we cannot break the trend of lower lows and lower highs. All right, so we just got to kind of acknowledge that in that sense that, we're not in, like I like to say, we're not in dire straits, but we're also not looking fantastic either. We're kind of in that middle space right now, kind of a proving ground, so to speak. So it's important to kind of remain patient here, try not to overtrade. I know a lot of my community members are curious about signals, and I totally get that. I want to send out some good ones, don't get me wrong. But quality signals sometimes do take patience, and it does wait. We do need to wait for some type of confirmation, okay? Just because we have a nice green day or two doesn't necessarily mean we're back on track and ready to rock and roll. Okay, so just kind of throwing it out there. Just be cautious and careful. Obviously, continue to dollar cost average whenever you can. Once again, a price point of 40,000 or lower is very good value in the grand scheme of where Bitcoin should be eventually. Okay? That being said, let's take a look here at the standard stuff. We're below both moving averages. The 50 is starting to kind of average itself out sideways at 42,000. That's been like that for a few days. In fact, even a couple of weeks. So we don't need to worry about that. We didn't get a convergence on the MACD, which I don't expect to see that happen unless we have a very solid green candlestick close in the next couple of days, perhaps even weeks. Okay, so I don't even think we're going to see much there. I feel like we're just going to kind of continue to hang out here for a little while in this bearish type of sentiment here until we have a clean breakout. And a clean breakout could come in a few different ways. I would say, first starting point would be a close above 40,500. A secondary would be a solid close above 42,000. Okay, and when I say a solid close above, something that would be obviously higher than the 50-day set moving average, and of course 50 on the RSI. Essentially 42,005 or higher would probably be that turning point. So that's essentially kind of what we're looking at there. So again, it's not great, not good, not bad, not terrible. It's kind of one of those, we're right at this little funky spot right now where we're probably going to see some channel trading to continue between 37.7 and perhaps even 42. It's somewhat of a range here so far it's establishing itself into, which is neither good nor bad, because it can lead to a transition to the downside. But this bearish flag type of pattern that we're seeing isn't a strong clean break to the downside. Okay, so again, that's just kind of something to pay attention to there, and kind of just to acknowledge. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the 4-hour and kind of see where we're at here. Now with the 4-hour, we got the time frame here, of course, with the price moving down, of course, but we're also seeing lower highs. And once again, it's easier to see on lower time frames. But unless this next push can come higher right here than 40,500 or 40,600, then we're going to be in a position where the price will continue to progress lower. We're also seeing a rejection by the 50-day SMA, which pretty much happened recently when you think about it. Even though it broke above for a few hours, it still inevitably came back down as a result. All right, taking a look, of course, as well as the RSI. This is something that is positive. It's silver lining. It could lead to a potential transition to the upside, and that we are tentatively above the 50-day the 50 on the RSI. That is important, but as you can kind of see, that's fairly synonymous with the 50-day SMA as well. So I would say a clean close above the 50-day SMA on the 4-hour would be a much better situation than just just clearing 50 on the RSI. But generally speaking, we could be potentially up above a somewhat of a resistance on the relative strength index. So again, just something to kind of think about there. Again, silver lining, does that mean that we're just going to see the a completely awesome shot straight upwards from here? It doesn't necessarily tell us that. But we did have a MACD convergence recently, obviously it's showing that we have a loss in bearish momentum. The bulls have been gaining control and taking control of the last 24 to 48 hours. And obviously, that's a good thing. Taking a look here though, something to acknowledge is, I guess you could say the elephant in the room, but when we hit a 9 on TD Sequential, and this is something you go out and try to acknowledge here, is the fact that there's a likelihood of a turnaround that could happen. And we could even be seeing that turnaround happen right now at this really ugly candle here. Based on the simple fact that, again, anytime we come down to a 9, just say for example, we usually see a consolidation period or a retracement. This one retraced, this consolidated and then retraced. If we look at this here, we could come up, we could literally go sideways, or we could come back down. There's a couple of different possible scenarios, but the likelihood of it continuing higher from here is fairly low because, again, the last 9 times 4-hour candles, in other words, 36 hours worth of continuation of the upside here, the bulls have controlled that entire time frame. And in most cases, they lose that control after a certain amount of time, which is why you see ups and downs in trading. It never goes in a straight line because there's always that give and take of selling and buying. Okay, bears and the bulls are like, hey, bulls are like, hey, we want the price to go higher. The bears are like, heck no, we're not going to come across this level. 40,000's not going to happen today. And just, it's sold off. But eventually, there's not enough, bullish momentum to continue to break through that resistance, and that could cause a rejection and a break to the downside. So again, that's kind of just generally what we're looking at here. Looking at the 4-hour though, correction, I'm going to switch over to the 1 hour from the 4, and we can kind of take a closer look here. We saw a 9, we hit a 9 on TD Sequential, kind of went sideways from there. We went up to another 9, it wasn't super strong, and now we got kind of a reset. So in truth, we could literally see, even though we're kind of maxed out on the 4-hour, we could probably see about 5 more hours of continuation, either sideways or up from here. In other words, it could try to break through this resistance of 40,000. And right now it's a tentative resistance. It's only been rejected out maybe about 4 or 5 hours in that range, but generally speaking, 40,000 is a Fibonacci retracement level and working potentially as a resistance for right now. Okay, so 40,000 is the immediate resistance. 40,500 I would say is a good one-day candlestick close is what we want to look for. And let's quickly take a peek over at the cloud here. And this is neither good nor bad. It's more positive than negative in the sense that we're above the cloud, and the fact that the lower lead here essentially worked as a support level. So we got some good stuff going on there, but by no means does it, we're barely clear of any price action. So unless we can get a couple more candlesticks higher, the likelihood of this continuation of the upside right now is fairly low. Again, just based on what we see here so far. And I'm really just taking the data that we have, extracting important elements from each time frame and building a case. And so far here today, if we were to look at the big picture, once again on the daily, we have a positive last couple of days. But we know on the transitionary time frame of the 4-hour, we're also seeing that resistance where the price will not be able to go much further based on the simple fact that it's overextended. We've also got some moving averages factoring in as well in the 4-hour, holding the price action down. And on the 1-hour, we are not establishing, we are establishing higher lows. Okay, so keep this in mind. This could transition into larger time frames, right? But until we break above this plane here, we really have no legs to stand on because that was a very strong resistance. Okay. So again, I would say, again, just kind of summarize on the daily, that what we want to look for is a one-day candlestick close above 40,500. It may not happen today because that's a decent ways away, but a close above 40,500 could give us a leg to stand on to try to test 42,000 again to break that key level resistance based on the 50-day 7-moving average and the RSI. Okay, but in truth, the daily doesn't look that great. We're still making lower lows and lower highs in the overall sense of things. And I would say until the 1-hour can continue to make higher highs and higher lows, translating that into higher highs and higher lows in the 4-hour and inevitably on the daily, we're not really out of the clear yet. So again, dollar cost average as per usual, but my anticipation here is over the next couple of days or perhaps even weeks, we'll probably continue to see a slow bleed on the way down. I don't think we're going to see 24,000, and that's just my personal feelings. But again, we got to be open to the possibility that it could happen. There are a lot of crazy things that happen in cryptocurrency, and I would not be surprised if that does happen. But I think we're a long ways from that at this point. There's a lot of buying pressure at 39,000, 38,000, and we need to understand and acknowledge the fact that the volume is telling us that we've got some really a lot of interest at 39,000. So how much lower can it go from there, right? If it drops down below, sure, it could happen. We'll probably see some candle wicks, but for the most part, we shouldn't anticipate or expect the price to just drop like a rock. I would say that we're probably getting closer to its bottom for the moment. Again, for the moment, that can change. We'll see where we go from here. But I'm looking for a one-day candlestick close above 40,500. If we close underneath yesterday's high, that would be very, very terrible. In other words, we need to close over 39,200 at the very least. And the reason why I say that is because if we close below, we'd be printing a gravestone candle. And that is a very, very telling sign of a reversal. And the fact that we have this very large wick up here seems very reminiscent of previous times when we're seeing these large candle wicks that get rejected and inevitably come back down. So again, just some big picture stuff there. It's not a guarantee the price will keep going down, but it feels right now that Bitcoin wants to continue to progress lower based on just the general lack of strength that it has for the moment. Okay. Anytime we have a nice strong push, it just gets rejected and we keep printing lower highs. Just some things to think about, but I would say we're more likely to go down than up in the immediate future here from Bitcoin, but I don't think it will be a crazy, tumultuous, straight down type of situation like we've seen before. I think that's less likely unless there's a fundamental catalyst that we're not even prepared for. Again, this should all take place for the next week or so, and then once, of course, I think we have some important meetings next week. I think we might see a shift in momentum there once that's all said and done. Either way, between now and then, be cautious, careful, dollar cost average whenever possible, and make sure that you are not using too much leverage right now if you were to. Okay, keep it low, 5 or less, and make sure that you are paying close attention if you're doing that. Otherwise, you're swing trading, all well and good. Just kind of let it ride, but alts are getting hit hard right now, and it's kind of a crazy thing. So just be careful and cautious and invest in the right things for the moment. Some heavy trading may not be advantageous for the moment. So hope you get the drift. All right, thanks again for joining me here. Again, if you're not currently a community member, CryptoCache.tech is the site, link in the description below. I look forward to working with you. Have yourself a great rest of your day.